Hello viewers, this is Neeti Rao from Fingan Academy. Today is a special episode on Independence Day. Here with us we have Mr. Mohan Krishna Rao, financial economist and founder of Finmo Investment Advisors Private Limited. Hello sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Niti.
We all know that Independence Day is around the corner and we are all very thrilled to celebrate Independence Day each year. But I have certain questions to ask you regarding the same. So my questions are a little deviating, okay? So we all know that we celebrate Independence Day because we got independence from Britishers in 1947. But I have certain reasons to celebrate otherwise. What are we celebrating? Unemployment, corruption, poverty? What is it that we're looking for?
If I understand your questions correctly, what you are asking is not about India, but about what is the reasons for celebrations.
Yes.
Once you are independent, anyway you are independent. So whether it is on 15th August or 16th August or 14th August, it doesn't matter. You are independent. So what is celebrate? If you have to celebrate, there has to be a success, right?
Yes.
What do you celebrate? You celebrate the success, but not the failure. So what you are telling, the unemployment, the poverty, these are all the failures, right? So the question actually dies down to what is so great about us,
Right.
So for this, it's very important for you as well as for all the people who are watching this video, especially who celebrates independence, tell me. It is basically students, right?
Yes.
Because when we were kids, when we were in schools, it was a torture for us because we never understood what is great about independence. But we had to get up early and go and stand and all that band baja and all that you have to supposed to do. And at the end of the day, they'll give one chocolate or something. And then you have to go home without having food at 11:30, 12 and till 1 o'clock. All these politicians come and do their bhashan. And it is really boring and it's a torturous thing for students if you think from their point of view.
But
that is not the celebration. So it is a torturous thing for students if you do not know about India. I am not talking about India's greatness as our culture. Of course, that is really great. The Vedas, Shastras, India as a knowledge, leader, Vishwaguru, all that is great. I'm not talking about that. If you have to feel successful today, whatever you talk about success is actually measured in money terms.
That's right.
So what is the financial success? If you are not financially independent as a country, if you are not the richest country in the world, or at least if you are not among the top 1, 2, 3, because who will be remembered in the world? The first person to actually climb the Himalayan mountain is remembered. The second person is remembered. Maybe some people will remember the third also. But if you are 100th person, nobody will remember. So what is our status as a country financially? If we understand that, if we really feel that is really great, then there is something to celebrate about. But tell me, what do you know about India's financial status?
I know that
I'm sure you are an MBA graduate. You have worked for a couple of years in the industry, in the financial services industry, and now you are part of Fingan Academy, and you are into market research. You are into talking to clients about the market levels and all that. So you are a knowledgeable person. But today is a world of, digital world. There is one big Guruji in the world. The Vishwaguru is what? Not India. Vishwaguru is the Google. Right? So you have the Google Guru. So you can know everything what you want to know about India financial status. But tell me where India stands, or tell me which are the top 5 countries in terms of GDP today in the world. What are those countries? Which is number 1, for instance?
I think it is USA.
Absolutely right. Yes, USA is the first country in terms of GDP, number 1 country. Which is the second?
I believe it is Russia, if I'm not wrong.
It is not Russia, but it is a country which is very close to us, neighboring country to India.
Okay.
And it is just giving you a clue. And it is also, a lot of people consider that as our Indian enemy. Actually, it is not, according to me.
Is it China?
Right.
China
is the second largest. Why don't you just Google and check which are the 5 countries in terms of GDP?
So we have United States at 28.78.
$28.78 trillion US dollars. That is first place USA, okay. Which is in second place?
At second, we have China at $18.53 trillion.
18.53.
As Germany at $4.59 trillion.
Germany at $4.59 trillion. Okay. What's in the fourth place?
Japan at 4.11.
4.11, very close.
Yes.
Who is in the fifth place?
India at 3.94.
3.94 trillion.
Yes.
India.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is your analysis of this? Which country do you think is great in terms of financial health?
As per this, yes, obviously it is United States.
So, United States is the greatest country because it has the highest GDP of whatever $28 trillion.
Yes.
28 trillion US dollars. Now, this size, if you compare India to US, the analysis goes 28 is 4, so roughly
It's
about
almost nine
9 times bigger than the India. Now,
Yes.
how much is China bigger than India? Now, about $18 trillion, so we are
Six-
about
six-
4,
six
so
times.
4.5 times bigger. Now, how big is Germany compared to us? Almost same.
Yes.
So it's about what, 4.59
1.5
and
times.
hardly about 500 600 billion dollars is the difference.
That's right.
So if you see the difference, now this is one way to look at. For example, let's say somebody, a middle class person working, a salaried guy, and he is earning about 6 lakhs per year, but he has a housing loan of 30 lakhs. Now tell me, do you consider someone who was earning 6 lakhs a year but having a loan of 30 lakhs a year is great, or do you think someone who is having a 30 lakh rupees income but having 6 lakhs loan, that is better financial health?
Definitely this option too.
The option 2, right?
Yes.
You cannot just look at the GDP, which is like your salaried income. 28 trillion doesn't give you any idea if you do not know what is the US government total outstanding debt.
Oh,
Okay. So same way like you said these 5 countries, can you just Google, because you have your Vishwaguru on your phone.
yeah. The national debt is about $35.05 trillion.
Does it ring the bell?
Definitely.
What are you coming to the conclusion?
So they have more debt than their GDP.
It is like a middle class salaried man.
Yes.
So they have a $28 trillion economy, but the debt is 35 trillion, right?
Yes.
Is it correct?
Yes.
Now just look at China. Let's see if they are better in terms of financial health.
I believe China is also in the same pit with 26.5 trillion US dollars.
My God. So that means what is the comparison between GDP and the debt?
It's
GDP is about 18
18
trillion dollar.
trillion.
Debt is what?
26.
26 trillion. Actually,
Yes.
I'm not checking which website and all that. I'm just going by whatever you're seeing.
It's the
Because
approach.
anybody can search this. The debt is higher than the income.
Yes.
Let's check out the other third place and the fourth place.
Germany stands at 2.8 trillion.
4.59 trillion is the GDP and the debt is
2.8 trillion.
2.8. So almost 50-60% still it has debt.
Yes.
Okay. What about Japan?
Japan stands at 9.2 trillion US dollars.
Oh, what's your analysis?
They are heavily in debt.
So it is almost double.
Yes.
If you see the GDP is what, $4.11 trillion, what you just said,
Yes.
and the debt is 9 trillion.
Yes.
Now look at India. Now we have seen all the 4 above India in terms of GDP. Now I am very keen to understand how much is the debt of India.
India's debt stands at $0.66 trillion.
So what is your analysis? Now India's GDP is what, 3.9 trillion roughly, what
Yes.
you said, and the debt is only 0.6 trillion.
That's right.
Now tell me, amongst these 5 countries, now you know what is the GDP and what is the debt, which one will you rate the highest?
Definitely India.
Right? So it's
Definitely.
not about how much money you earn, it's about how much debt also you have. Because if your growth is coming through debt, it is not very healthy sign.
True.
Now this is a very simple thing what we did, but now you tell me, do you feel proud about India?
Yeah, sure. What is not there to feel proud after listening to this?
And there is one more parameter let's look at. Now we want to know, okay, currently it is all looking good. What about in next 4-5 years? Will India be doing very well, or will US will do well, or Do you think Japan will do well or China will do well? How do we know that? I'll give you a solution. To know that, you need to check what is the GDP growth percentage. Now, if you can Google at what rate of growth that China is growing, or US is growing, Japan is growing, or Germany is growing, or India is growing.
According to Google, US is growing at 2.8% annually.
So in a year, 2.8% it is growing, which means if I put it into numbers, 28 trillion ka 2%. 10% is 2.8 trillion. Uska 1% is 280 billion dollars. Roughly about 600 billion is what it will grow in a year. So which means even in next 3 years, it cannot even add 1.5 trillion after 3 years also. Now what will happen to the debt? Debt will continuously increase, because if your GDP does not increase, your expenditure for the government will continue to be the same, and
Yes.
your debt will go from 35 to 40 trillion dollar. Now tell me for China.
For China, it's showing 5% year.
Last year, okay. So on an average around
Yes.
4 to 5% it is growing.
Yes.
So 18 trillion is the GDP. So it will grow roughly about 1 trillion or 0.9 trillion every year.
Yes.
What about Japan?
For Japan, it shows 0.9%.
My God,
To
in a
1
year, Japan is growing only less than 1%.
Yes.
What does it mean? So 4.1 trillion, it will not add anything actually in 1%, not even about $400 billion.
That's right.
So it is actually not growing. So Japan growth is standstill. So what about Germany?
Germany is 0.2%.
My God, much worse than Japan. The growth is only 0.2% for the year.
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about India. What is the growth?
For India, it is 7.5%.
So that is what we need to understand. 7.5% in a year. In 3 years, it will go 25%.
Yes.
So what is 25% out of 4 trillion? Roughly we are at 4 trillion.
Yes.
So 25% is 1 trillion. So it will automatically become a 5 trillion economy by 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
If you remember, that's what Modi ji promised in the election. So
That's
he
right.
fought the election saying that by the time I complete this term, I will make sure India is in top 3 in the world. But it will happen either way.
Definitely.
At 7% it will happen. You know that India's GDP is already 4 trillion. It will become anyway the third largest economy, and the growth rate is big, and compared to any other country, we are growing fastest. Now the challenge is to take on China and also to take on US, which will be a long trip. Of course, it may take 10-15 years, but don't you feel good? You know, 190 countries roughly in the world, out of that your country is in the third place almost. There's not much difference between the fourth place or the fifth place.
That is something to be proud of. Yes.
Now tell me, with this knowledge, when you hoist the flag, either as a student or as a politician or as salaried people who are sitting and they're watching the parade, Independence Day parade, and all those programs are coming live, and when you watch it, or when you are really there in front of the flag and say Jai Hind, what should you feel? You should know that you are the biggest country, the third biggest country in the world, almost in the making, very much close by.
True.
And should we not feel good about it?
Definitely.
This is what I say celebration of Independence Day. Just adding little more information to this. Now there's a lot of videos that are there on the YouTube, on the social media, in every other platform. People are talking about economics. Ours is the largest democracy in the world.
Yes.
Now, what is the meaning of democracy? It is the people of India who are responsible for choosing their leaders. Now, the last 10 years, you have done a good job, chosen the right leader, and the government is doing a great job. I am not political. I don't bother who is the prime minister, which party. I have to evaluate from the financial point of view, whether it is state level or at the central level. And as an analyst, for me it is the same, whether it is Indian GDP or US GDP. So for me, numbers will tell lot of stories. Now last 10 years, there's been tremendous amount of work. We all know what's happening in Sri Lanka, what's happening in Pakistan, what's happening in Bangladesh of late. An elected prime minister is overthrown by a student strike. Can you imagine that?
Yes.
and army supporting them, external people supporting them. That is the biggest danger to any democracy. Now, if you don't choose the right leaders who will take right steps to make sure your country grows, you may say, what is in it for me? I am not getting employment, and so the country is bad. I am not able to earn more money, that because country. So you say country is bad just because you are poor. Who is responsible for you to become poor? You are
As
responsible, right?
yes.
There are opportunities. If there are no opportunities, do you think country will become the third position in the world?
No.
You can complain this if you go to Nigeria, if you are a citizen of Germany, citizen of UK, if you are a citizen of Pakistan, you can complain. The country is in worst situation. How can I earn more? Because the cost of onion, potato is 150 rupees, 300 rupees per kg.
Yes.
How much can I earn to actually eat? It's not in my control. You can blame the country, but not in India. You cannot blame the country. If you are a poor person, if you are unemployed, if you are having all the complaints about the country, it is your problem, not the country's problem. Because there are opportunities. That means if you don't even know where your country is financially, but you are a graduate, you are a postgraduate, you are a doctor, you are an architect, you are a politician, then what are you trying to do? Who is responsible? You are responsible. In fact, that is what we are trying to do in our FinGan Academy, and we have a big dream to educate entire India, all the Indian families, about how to get wealthy. Every household, I want them to have minimum 1 crore by 2047. So that is what we call the Har Ghar Crore India 2047. So we are closer to the Independence Day. Independence Days will come and go, like you said. And what is there for us? Unless you feel, there is a famous quote from Abraham Lincoln. It said, "Don't ask what the country has done to you. Think what you have done to the country." So it's important that we ask that question ourselves. And if we are in such a fantastic country, democratic country, you don't understand the importance of this freedom that we have, the country that we are in, unless you go into some other country, communist countries and other non-democratic countries, and see the quality of life there. Normally, we don't have value for what we already have. It's very important to know what we have, what our country stands for, and what is my contribution. If I have to become wealthy, I have to do something. There are a lot of opportunities today. There is technology, there is cheap capital available if you want to start a business. And if you want to work hard, you need to have a skill. And we will help you with that. I do know, because it requires a lot of education, lot of interest, motivation for people. So this is just a small effort in terms of telling how great is our country already, and it is growing. You have every single opportunity to grow your wealth, take care of your family very well, but you have to put an effort.
Definitely, sir. I totally agree with the quote that you have just mentioned. It all comes down to what we have to offer to the country rather than asking what the country has done to us. I think we should try our best to make sure that we bring India into the top 3 list very soon. And I'm also interested in knowing about the nationwide campaign that is the Har Ghar Crore moment. And hopefully, we'll make another video soon. Thank you so much for your insights, sir, and happy Independence Day.
Thank you, Niti, and to all the viewers, wishing you a wonderful, proud, and great Independence Day.